For Toronto Police Service, yeah, our main thing is to have safety, just safety. Number one is safety, and also to be impartial. So we're talking about uh, protests. What do you think about them? We're not there to think about anything other than public safety and be professional, be impartial. We cannot show sides. So it's our duty, our responsibility, not just as police, but as society, as parents. It all starts at home to make sure you protect the children, you educate the children. They're in an educational system where you don't let them become victimized, especially if we're not just trying to be hard on that individual. We know that individual that needs to be controlled a little better. If we don't educate ourselves, we don't help each other out. Social media can be a good thing, could also be a very bad poisonous thing as well. I'm not saying that all police are perfect. We're all human beings. There's good and bad in everybody, but we need to see through that.
Hi, Farzad. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, first of all, you're so kind to be accepting this invitation and coming to the show. But before we head to that, how did you find the location, though? Was it okay? Was it convenient? Were you able to reach here on time?
Yes. Thank you for having us. It's very nice to be sometimes known or recognized. Often, officers, out there, like, nobody really knows.
But
local
no,
officers,
other than that, I think you do a good work, which is shown in your social media.
Yeah.
But before I get to that, my question is, whenever you're stuck in traffic, as a personal question, do you get to use the siren just for yourself or only when it's emergency? That's one question I have, and I'll tell you why. Yesterday, I was getting out for my workout, and I was crossing the, the, what do you call this, the signal. And there was a cop who was just probably standing there, and all of a sudden, he turns off his siren. I'm in the middle of the road. And I don't know what to do. Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go back? I don't know. But my question was that I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask this question tomorrow to Farzad. Like, do you do it for your personal use? Can you do it? Or only because when you have something emergency and there's a wireless coming in? Like, how does that work?
Well, when you see a cruiser, you within an area, you can see the number in the back. It'll just have for example, ours it says 51.
Okay.
The first two digits, which means it belongs to 51 division, which is this area here.
Okay.
And then there's two other digits, which is really doesn't make much sense. But for us, when we're getting the cars during the day, when we get the detail to drive those cars, and we'll say, hey, you have 5107. But 51, you can see that belongs.
So
in
51
the
is
division.
for the first two digits are the division.
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed it or not, but say you're at the traffic light and there's a 51 division scout car there, and then the cruiser's there, and all of a sudden it's going lights and sirens. There's a high chance that that vehicle just got a call.
Okay.
And it comes on the screen, and then you have to go.
Yeah, because I was like, I was just crossing. He was just right there. And all of a sudden, he turns on his siren. And this is also a question that you always have in your mind, and you see it on social media. Like a lot of clips that goes on, and people comment, do they use this for personal use also, or just only when it's emergency? So,
I would say they probably just got a call.
okay,
In terms of being personal use, most likely no. I'll tell you why.
please.
We work 11 to 12 hours shifts.
Okay.
It makes no sense for us to turn it on and just to go through an intersection because it's
Just to grab
it's
coffee, maybe. You know?
Just we're gonna get there. Like we're not trying to go home.
Yeah.
We're not trying to get to work. We're already at work, and we're trying to stay visible in the neighborhood, right? So it makes no sense trying to go through an intersection just because we want to beat the traffic light, unless there's a reason to do so. Like normally we get a call, and like when I first started a while back. We go mainly the emergency calls, like it was 911 emergency, it was high priority call. We go lights and sirens. They do that right now too, but because of the congestion now, if we get a call that's not a high priority, because of congestion, we have to use our emergency equipment to get there. Otherwise, if we sit there in traffic, let's just say like a low priority call would be like someone broke into your home and people have left, and you're calling the police to say someone broke into my house. I need the police to come here. Do you really want to wait like 3 hours for the police to show up?
Yeah.
Or do you want police to show up within a reasonable time?
Okay.
So if we're going to a call and it's high traffic, you're looking at it like you don't want to wait an hour in traffic just to get to that. And it could take you an hour if you're in downtown area
Downtown, yeah.
nowadays, just to get
Especially
from one intersection to the next
especially
intersection.
you're in downtown,
Right?
right?
So you can't, that's just not reasonable. Then the calls will build up. And we already have a buildup of calls that it's hard for us to get to. So even the non-priority calls
Yeah.
become priority because we have to get to them. We have to get to where people are calling us from, right? So it's a service call. We got to get there. So we can't just say, "Well, I was stuck in traffic for the last 2 hours." Well, wait a
Yeah.
second. You have your emergency equipment. You could use it wisely, just to bypass that traffic, so you can get to the call. So for personal use, my basically point is they won't use it
won't
because they're here 11, 12 hours.
I hope the viewers who's going to watch this understand that, because I also under the same impression, because whenever I talk to my friends and they probably happen to just bring such conversations, I tend to disagree, because my understanding is also, if you are you're just devoting yourself for the community and you've decided to do so. Again, we can discuss probably about the term good cop, bad cop. There are a lot of them probably out there. But again, for someone who is just serving the community and trying to do better, I'm sure they're not going to use it for personal gain too, right? They're just probably really using it when they have to. Which is why yesterday too, when as soon as I saw it, I was like, probably he just got a call, emergency, and he had to go. But at that time, I was in the middle of the road. I was like, you know what? Do I go left, right? But I was like, let's just walk where I was walking, because he knows I'm crossing the road, so he knows where he has to just probably dodge me and cut the line. But
Yeah, just to educate the viewers, one other thing that I should mention that our cars all have equipped with a camera system.
okay,
So as soon as the emergency equipment comes on, the lights and sirens come on, it automatically starts recording.
all right,
And what happens with that is, so the reason for there's many reasons why the recording comes on. It's mainly for accountability. So exactly what you're saying. Our supervisors, one of their job is to check all our camera system, either a body worn camera or the in-car camera. They do that daily, and they will look at all the cars. And if they see that this is being used for personal, then that's how that's where the
that's a
accountability
good
comes,
point.
right?
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
most people don't even know that, right?
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no reason for any officer to try to take advantage of that, because regardless, if let's say if the public doesn't know, well, we will know.
You will know, yeah.
So
Right.
So there we're kind of covered on either end.
I wanted to probably ask this question in the later segment, but since you already mentioned and started discussing about low priority calls and high priority calls, can you let us know how what that is and what the difference is between the two?
So in Toronto, for Toronto Police Service, we have a system, low priority to high priority. High priority meaning life or death, and that's usually as a number one or number two. So it'll show up on our screen as a number one priority or number two priority. It'll come in red. That means we have to go ASAP.
And sorry to cut you off there. When you say number one and number two, this is passed on by a agent,
Dispatcher.
A dispatcher.
That's right.
Okay.
The dispatcher will determine the type of priority it is.
Okay.
Wants to have all the information, and then they will give it to us on our computer screen. So if we get a priority one or priority two, that means we're going lights and sirens to that call. It's
All right.
an emergency. And then we have priority 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are the more lower priorities, depending on the nature of the incident. So if it's non-violent and if something that let's just say, for example, and we brought up the break and enter. Right?
Yeah.
If it already has happened and there's no immediate threat, it'll be a lower priority call. It'll be maybe a priority
Even if the
3.
person, let's say he was probably stabbed in some.
No, if somebody's been stabbed, then that's a priority
That's a
2
priority
or a
call.
priority 1.
Okay. It's just when normal break-ins happen and they have left and no one has been
So if
harmed.
you have, like for example, a convenience store calls and says, I had a teenager that stole a piece of gum.
Okay.
That's a priority 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how they sort of look at it to see how urgent is it for us to attend,
Okay.
and we go based on that. So, and there are a lot of times that actually come where we get a low priority call, we're going to it, and all of a sudden the dispatcher is rerouting us because now all of a sudden a priority 1 or 2 just came up. So that
Right.
person who's been waiting, unfortunately, going to have to wait longer.
Longer.
This is the challenge that we're facing right now in the state of Toronto, is because people are saying we're waiting for hours and hours for police to come. The problem is for that is now number one the personnel issues that we have. We don't have enough to answer some of the calls that we're getting all the time, and also we're getting higher priority calls, and then we have to get rerouted for that. And then there are certain other calls too that they are priority, and we're dealing with them, and they take many hours. One call can take us like 3-4 hours to do a proper investigation with all the paperwork. So that also kind of slows us down, and the other calls keep getting built up. So there's
Nice.
all these things kind of add up. But
And all of this is coming from the dispatcher. They already know where you are, and that's how you
yes,
get
yes.
the.
Yeah, the
Okay.
dispatcher actually can see exactly where we are because we have a GPS system on our vehicles.
Nice.
And a lot of times we get detailed in. So, for example, let's say if you and I are partners, we're most likely going to get detailed. Let's just say in the northern part of our division.
Yeah.
So we're more or less patrolling the northern part, so we don't have to come all the way down. So we don't have to get stuck in congestion, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of get divided into different portions of the area that we're working in. So it's easier if there is a call that we have to go to.
Nice.
And the dispatcher can see if there is a closer unit and they're available, they'll dispatch that vehicle there to go to that call.
Got it.
Yeah.
So probably one of the things that I wanted to start off with is about your background. Where are you from? How did you come to Canada? I'm assuming, are you an immigrant or where?
Oh yes, yes. I'm actually a refugee that came from Iran,
Okay.
and my parents had to basically let go of everything, and we had to run away from our country.
How old were
And
you for that?
at the time I was 13 years old,
Okay.
and my parents wanted me and my brother to have a better future here, basically to have hope,
Correct.
because the hope over there was really almost non-existent. So we had to leave, and basically we had just our suitcases. I mean, at the time I didn't quite.
Do you remember those
understand.
days?
Of course I remember, but I didn't understand why the urgency. But we came here, and I had to leave all my family behind, and we came to Canada, and we had to claim refugee status. And at the time, obviously the immigration was much different than it was right now.
That is now, yeah.
And we signed a contract that that we were not going to be going on government assistance, and we're to educate ourselves and to find a job within the education system that they had set for us, for my parents, and within 2 years that we have to show that we're progressing, so that we can.
So there
be
was a
allowed-
whole check and balance that was
That's
going
right.
on.
So we had then otherwise we would not be able to have any status here.
And sorry, what year was this?
This is you're gonna know my age. 1980, end of 1986.
Okay.
It was different. It was way different. I remember that part because I remember my parents sitting in the immigration office and they're saying, "These are conditions. You have actual conditions that you have to abide by in order for us to help you stay here. Otherwise, if not, we may have to deport you."
Damn.
And it was. I could see
And you were the
fear.
eldest?
I'm the youngest. I
you're
could
the
see the fear in my parents' eyes. I could see the concern, and I just didn't know how to even react. Right.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. And I did not speak a word of English. We speak Farsi. We write from right to left, and now we have to learn how to write from left to right. And everything was just backwards for me. And I didn't understand the laws. I didn't understand anything. There was not that many immigrants here. When I was in classroom, I was the only one. They didn't even know there was no ESL program. They put me in a library with a librarian, and the librarian's like, "What is this kid doing here with me?"
No one could tell that, by the way, because this is the first time we've spoken, not even in the call, right? So we were just talking on Instagram after I saw how the good work you've been doing for the community, which we're going to discuss in a short while. But as soon as you walked in and you were talking to me in English, my first assumption was, you're probably born and brought up here. That's why your English is so good. I don't see an accent in it. But at the same time, when we were just, chit-chatting behind the scenes, then you told me, how the, this thing that came inside of you that you want to just help the community, especially the refugees. So that's what the background is, I'm assuming, right?
100%.
And was that also the reason why you wanted to join the forces? Or was this later when you were growing up?
I was later growing up. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I always wanted to sort of help people.
Okay.
I was in that mindset, and but I wasn't confident to be a police officer because my language was an issue, and I knew to be a police officer you need to have a strong language. You need to be able to communicate with people.
Correct.
I just wasn't confident enough, and eventually I found that confidence when I was in my mid-20s, late 20s.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let's give this a try, and let's see what happens.
Feel free to have the coffee as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so probably brings me to the work that you're doing recently. You've been helping the community, and I see right now you're working on some of the donations and gathering them and distributing them. and you've been very active on social media, which is one of the things that I actually got, the inspiration that, yeah, I wish this guy would just come to the show and speak about it. So the first question would be probably, is this something that the police division initiates, or is this from a personal level? Like, what is this?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
The initiation that I have is we call the Project Hope.
Okay. And
It's
this is
about
your personal.
this is a personal
Okay.
one. The toy drives. Every division has a toy drive every Christmas for their own local children within the area. We do too as well here for 51 Division, and I'm a neighborhood officer for Region Park. And Region Park is a priority neighborhood, and there's a lot of kids that don't even have a meal, and let alone toys and so forth. So every Christmas we do a toy drive for Region Park kids, and but above and beyond, we have what's called Project Hope. This is our fourth year now, and this is personal for me because I just said I'm a refugee myself.
Correct.
And as you know that the refugee claimants that have been coming to Canada in the last few years has been tremendous. We have
Yeah.
a large amount of refugees that are coming here, and some of them are dying on the streets. They don't have any shelter. There's really not it's hard to manage them, right? It's very difficult to manage a whole large sum of people coming here, and a lot of those people are actually children. We realized that about 4 years ago when the first group that came from Afghanistan from the military airplanes. And when they went to the hotels, me and my partner at the time, we realized like their support that they have is not as great because they're just trying to manage people only, and the children are just not really being looked after. And I have a soft spot for children. I have a soft spot for also seniors too. Those are my main two. But in reality, we know part of our job as police too is to make sure that people understand their rights, understand that the way of policing that's done here in Canada, because obviously Canada, one of the best countries in the world to live in. We have the freedom. That's why my parents came here. We had freedom here, and there's hope, and that's how the whole name came about. It's Project Hope, is to when you come here, you want to have that. You just feel like there's hope here for having a better future. So when we saw that the kids are not being as well supported, we decided that we're gonna use the social media that I have to put the word out there and take that initiative. As a police officer, I thought it was part of my duty as well to make a first connection with these with the families that are coming here and the kids, to make first contact, just to let them know that they're welcome here. Canada's inclusive. We accept everybody from every culture, every background, and we're the most diverse country in the world. And we're all accepted, and we all abide by rule of the law, but that needs to be translated in the form of education. So I wanted to make sure that they understand what their rights are, so that they don't get themselves in trouble. Because I remember when I first came here, I didn't know the law, and I could have easily gotten in trouble. I could easily get myself to a point where I couldn't have a proper future.
Yeah.
Right. So we did a toy donation drive because it was close to Christmas. We said this is their first Christmas here in Canada. Regardless of what your background is, everyone celebrates Christmas. We celebrate
Right.
all the holidays, right? And Christmas is a special holiday for everybody. And through the generosity of the Instagram followers that we have, and collaborated with some of the stakeholders and some of the sponsors that we got, we were able to gather some good amount of toys and take them to the refugee hotels and distribute them to the families. Some of these kids never even had a toy. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, that's
So seeing the smiles on little kids' faces that going through the trauma, coming to this new country, they don't speak the language, they don't know anything. To see a uniform, obviously they're gonna feel
Intimidated
very,
too, right?
intimidated,
Yeah.
right? So we want to make sure that that's not there. That they're here, that they're safe, and they will have a better future. So that's why we did what we did, and we did an information session. We told them what their rights are, how to contact with what a police officer even look like, show them the badge, have a few jokes, have a few laughs, have we even had the translators that helped us. I even spoke a couple languages, so I could able to relate with them, and you just break those barriers down,
yeah.
and then they just feel more comfortable. They feel like, oh, okay. Because a lot of the questions, like if we say something, are we going to get deported? Is police going to deport us? They see us as militants, right? And we want to
Yeah.
make sure that no. One thing I said right off the bat: if you look at any police car, it says to serve and to protect.
Correct. Yeah, it's written in every
It's
car,
written
right?
on every
Yeah.
car, right? So, and that's what we're here. We're here to serve you and to protect you. So don't ever forget that. And that kind of brings the nerves down. They feel more comfortable and they start opening up. And there were a lot of questions that you would scratch your head like, how would they not know this? Well,
Yeah.
how would they know it? Because we live in a different society than people that are coming here.
But for that, that's also because a lot of people don't get to see this work that you guys do, right? There's not a lot of information that's out there, or the media does not cover it. They always show you whenever there's something bad going on, or there's something that is out of the ordinary that you guys should be doing, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's a cop and he did this." But at the same time, like you mentioned, when I started following you, then I see it's not only you. You have a lot of team. I'm sure it's a department initiation too, right? Your superiors probably also support you in this, but no one talks about that. No one really highlights that. And you also mentioned a really good point that not only the Regent Park is a high priority, probably in terms of the refugees. I didn't know about that. What I know is it's actually higher priority because of the types of crimes that take place on a day-to-day basis. I am from Toronto. I live in downtown, so I literally live near the Regent Park. I'm at Jarvis and Dundas. So you know that area. You're probably familiar with it. You know the amount of people who are, they're homeless, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who are just committing crimes at the same time. And we see, or we have seen, an increase in that too over the recent times. I moved here 4 years ago. I'm a very new immigrant. I came here in 2020. And I still think Canada is one of the safest places. But at the same time, I do see the shift in people's aggression, the type of frustration they have. And we can sit and debate about that, about why is it, the economy, just how it's affecting people, plus a lot of people coming in, you don't have jobs, you can't pay for your bills, the taxes are high, the rents are going up. But having said that, your division is one of the higher priority in terms of crime too. So what is your take on that, and what's something that you can share about that for our viewers, that how do you manage that, how many type of calls you get, and how do you respond to those?
Yeah, so the last stat I think we were told, 51 Division is the busiest station in the entire country.
I'm assuming yes, yeah.
Even though we're not a big division in terms of geographical area, but it's so dense.
So what
It's
do you cover
downtown.
exactly in 51? What areas and what streets?
From Bloor Street to Lakeshore, to the
Okay.
waters here.
So
And
the
from,
entire Bloor Street from east to west, or?
No, from Yonge Street to Don Valley Park.
Okay, got it.
That's our catchment area.
Okay,
But because it's so heavily
but
condensed,
that's actually
right?
condensed, yeah.
Very condensed. You have Yonge Street where we have mostly tourists
And students.
and students, right? And you have Church Street, we have a village, we have a huge community of LGBTQ
Correct.
right? And then you move over, you have Jarvis, right?
Yeah.
And you just mentioned, being in Jarvis, we have a lot of people who are underhoused.
Yeah.
And you move over to Sherbourne,
It's a
and
whole different level
continues.
over there.
It's
Just a street away from
almost
it.
every one street that you go over
To the
it's
east,
a
it's
different
just-
entity
yeah.
almost, right? A different clientele.
It
different
gets
people.
scarier.
and it gets of course there's scary in every sector of the streets and all that, but it just gets more I would say more challenging.
Okay.
In a sense where you're dealing with different types of problems, right? And we don't police buildings, we police people.
Correct.
Right. So it's important to know that, because we're dealing with people all the time, and it gets very challenging to the point where we need to know every type of ethnic background. We need to know every type of issue that people are facing, especially with mental health. Mental health is probably the biggest thing that we're facing at this point. Where a lot of people are suffering just because of some of the things we just went through recently. It's like I would say, when we talk about challenges that we're going through right now.
Yeah.
Is all the side effects of going through the pandemic.
Okay.
The pandemic basically sort of reset us in terms of the social aspect that we're facing right now, because we totally lost that contact that we used to have regularly with people. And then after the pandemic, the economy that just hit rock bottom, we did not recover from that.
We're still not, yeah,
But
able
life
to.
still goes on. Life still continues. So we're the cracks that are there in life, they're just getting bigger and deeper. And unfortunately, when that happens, when people fall through those cracks, at the end of the day, they end up we end up facing them. We're obviously we don't want to, we want to be your last option, really. I mean, that's what policing is for. Is like, if it's a life or death, if it's an emergency, that's where we come in. We rather not come in. We're trying to do more proactive. That's what we know with the Project Hope. We say one of the reasons was to make sure we there's less victimization, because if we let people that are coming here in the country and we're not teaching them anything, they're going to get victimized. Life is already challenging as it is.
Correct. Yeah.
And then they have to survive through it. And then if we don't educate ourselves, we don't help each other out, they will get victimized, unfortunately, in some shape or form. And then we have to come, and we don't want that. We want to come in a time where nothing has happened, equip you with tools and education so that you do not fall through those cracks. And if you do, that's fine. We'll still be there. It doesn't mean that we don't like them. We want to get them in trouble. It's just that we need to correct it so that we can get them back into society, right?
Yes.
And so those are the challenges that we're facing because of the pandemic. And also, the amount of people that are just coming. We say we police people. I would say the population has, because I work only in 51, I can tell you with all the buildings that are going up, we probably quadruple our population.
I agree.
But we have the same number of officers, if not less. So how does that ratio work, right?
Yeah.
If you go into any organization or a company, you're running a company, if you had 100 people, you need managers to help people how to train them.
Correct.
All of a sudden, that 100 is now 1,000, and you still have 4 managers. How are you
managing that?
How are you managing 1,000
agree.
people? So this is what we're facing right now. This is it because it's an issue that we're facing as a city. Very challenging, right? So we're trying to get through that. So one of the things that I like to preach, on the social media, like you said, when police are in the media, is usually negative.
Correct.
Unfortunately, that's what we get called for, is when things are really hitting rock bottom. The social media, we're using as a tool to help people unite. Unity is very, very important. Often we do, me and my partner, we do community events, and we do town hall meetings. And our number one message that we bring across is that we're just a small piece of the pie. We cannot just solve anything by ourselves, right? We rely on the community to help us. The communities are the eyes and the ears. They're the ones who go through it on a daily basis. So they have to help us inform how we can deal with them better. And so we have to collaborate, and we have to work together. We can't just solve anything off the thing. We don't do any magic.
Yeah.
We rely on people's information to gather all our evidences
the
together,
issues.
to solve the issue. And we have to solve it as a community. So if we start pointing finger at each other, we'll never solve anything.
Correct.
And the people who are on the other side, the wrong side, they love that. They don't want us to get closer. They want us to be further
Divided.
and further apart,
Yeah.
and be divided. So the last thing we want is division. That's why we love talking to kids, younger kids, because again, we don't want them to get victimized. We want them to understand that unity is very, very important.
And probably
Listening-
get the wrong message, because
Right.
if you have wrong people on your side, they usually would tell you that cops are not always on your side. They're the bad guys. These are some of the things that I have personally been reading on the social media platforms such as SixBuzz. They would post, oh, look at this cop. He was doing this. He was intimidating this person. And this is how cops are. And then there are a lot of comments down there. Yeah, I don't know where our budget goes. We should cut the taxes. Now, there's a good point you mentioned, by the way, which I didn't know. The population's increasing, but the number of staff working for us, for the community, is not. So hence, with the amount of population that we have, I'm sure the crime rate is going up. Probably after the pandemic, you're very right. A lot of people are not mentally stable because they were not able to get through the pandemic really well. They probably did not have the right resources, or their plans were just not happened to just conceptualize. Now they're going insane. They're committing these crimes, big or small, does not matter. But you guys have to be there and perform your duty. So this is one thing that people do not actually understand. And I would love you to talk about this. You having the same probably amount of people working in the forces, how has it changed? And first of all, how long have you been in the service?
I'm entering my 23rd year.
23rd year. And then if we just talk about the last 4 or 5 years, the amount of crime rate that you've seen, what's probably the percentage that you see? Is it like a 50% increment or a 100% increment?
We do have some crime indicators that we usually have stats for. But personally, I can tell you the increase of mental health issues that we're dealing with, I would say, is jumped by 100%.
Okay.
And also overdose, unfortunate overdose.
Correct.
We used to get like maybe overdose 3-4 times a week. Now we're getting that 3-4 times a day.
That's high.
It's just extremely high. It's just extreme. It's another pandemic on its own, and many people don't know about that. I mean, the overdose. Why would anyone overdose? There's many reasons for it, but one of the main reasons is the mental health aspect. You know, people. It's hard for them to cope.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to survive. So it's an easy way to sort of cope with the issues is by just maybe doing substances that is just gonna help you not think about it, right? And that can result into death, unfortunately, or other medical issues. So the overdose has become a real bad pandemic for us, and the shootings. You know, we hear.
Yes.
I remember clearly, you know, when I would come in, we have a 7-day rotation. In the 7-day rotation, we would have we'd hear maybe like 1 or 2 shootings throughout the week in the city, not just in our division, but just in the city. Now we're getting shootings every single day, multiple times a day now. It's become to a point where people just don't even. I don't want to say. I don't like to say norm, but it's just another shooting again and another shooting again, and these things have increased dramatically because it's difficult to continue to adapt and keep up because things are changed rapidly.
Correct.
And we need to do that as police, and this is one of the challenges we have as a whole service is to stay in that race because
You have to keep up with it,
we
right?
have to keep up
Yeah.
with it, and you know, and it's by the time we catch up, you know, it's almost kind of late, you know, and we
I
have to
mean,
do that.
overdose is probably still not preferred, but having someone to just use guns and shoot someone is probably the top priority right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I'll discuss about that in a bit because I have a thing that I saw on your Instagram, which is something really was something really nice. A message you put out there back in 2022 when I was just looking at your profile. Probably some of the things that you do on a personal note to spread awareness. So I'll talk about that. But at the same time, so now we have people commenting, oh, let's lower the budget of the police. Let's not give them much budget. They don't need it. Let's lower the taxes that goes towards these people. What is your say or comment on a personal level? I'm not saying that as a division wise, but on a personal note, what do you feel or how do you feel when you see or read such comments from people? How do you take that?
You know, it's unfortunately it's just lack of education and sometimes common sense because if you look around the entire world, and I would challenge you, find another police service in the entire planet that's better than Toronto Police Service.
I come from Pakistan. I can tell you guys are a lot better. I'm going to talk about how people.
I'm still waiting for that answer because I want to know. I'm actually curious myself because I asked that question to myself. I'm like, which police service is better than Toronto or greater GTA area, just in general? You look at the whole worldwide. I don't think you can find one.
Not to spread any negativity or any bad impression about the country that I come from, but literally when we used to look at cops in Pakistan who would be probably standing to stop us just for random check, we would be afraid. You know, things can get out of hand. We don't know what's going to happen. Is he in a good mood, in a bad mood? But at the same time, there's like political connections that you probably have and you can get away with. So which is scary too. Over here, it's not like that. Whenever I personally have seen a cop, because I have nothing to hide. I haven't done nothing wrong. So for me, it's more like, yeah, nothing. If he's going to stop me, sure. Probably he's just going to ask me a few questions and let me go. Over there, even if you've done nothing wrong, you're all the time scared that they can come up with something and just do something to you. So people, you're right. Lack of education plus lack of awareness. These people have probably not lived in countries as such. I have. I've seen how the cops operate over there, how the entire police system or the division works. But over here, people I would say they're very blessed because there's a system, there's accountability. And let alone going to a country like Pakistan, let's just look at the United States. How many people in our neighboring countries complain about the abuse and misuse of power? I personally have not seen it here. The only thing that I see is, oh yeah, cops could have done better. Those are the complaints that you can see. But that probably, again, we can sit and debate on that, how far it goes. And it's connected to our political agenda too, that how the budget comes down and how you're supposed to hire more people or people in the right space. But you cannot discredit the police force for what they're doing with what they have, you know? So that's one good point. Now, coming back to the other stuff that you were mentioning about the increase in violence with guns, you posted something about I think it was a Glock or a Magnum that you posted that this gun has been banned to use, and you were spreading it for awareness, and you were happy about it. That thank God this is something that the country or whatever authorities have already banned it. So in terms of the gun laws, do you think we're actually in a good space right now, or could we do better?
We can always do better.
Okay.
I truly believe in that. You know, guns really do not belong on the street. What do you have a gun for? It's just to kill somebody,
Correct.
right? It's not like we're living in a jungle where we have to hunt. I mean, what's that? That bullet is only designed to go through flesh, and just does massive amount of damage. We don't need it. Like, the, it doesn't belong. I don't
You don't
personally
advocate for it.
I'm not saying I'm not against guns who are people that want to do sports or hunting and all that kind of stuff, but I'm talking about just carrying a gun with you makes no sense at all.
But
And,
Farzad,
and it's-
there are a lot of people also who say, yeah, we're not allowed to carry them. But as you also mentioned, the crime rate in terms of using illegal guns is increasing. But at the same time, the person on the other hand, they don't have something to defend themselves. What do you have to say about that?
So I want to go back and address the fact that from the judicial system,
Yeah.
we need to change some laws.
Okay.
In my opinion, the laws need to get changed before we say to people, "Hey, go buy a gun and defend yourself." I think we can do better. I think we can
In controlling
we can control the illegal guns a lot better. We can do a lot better. I can tell you that.
Okay.
And then we need to explore that. We need to make sure that option is fully exhausted before we could say, okay, we give up now. We did everything we can. Now we have to look at option B or C. We haven't gone there yet. I don't think we've fully exhausted our options. We need to sit down and we need to change the laws. And I will guarantee that will lower the violence that we see right off.
So
the
when you
bat.
say we can do better, is in terms of cracking it down, like the supply of illegal
Yeah,
guns?
it's a multifaceted answer when it comes to this. It's not just yes. There's enforcement, and that needs to be there, and it needs to be strategic. It can't just be martial law,
Okay.
right? It needs
Yeah.
to be strategic, but it needs to be backed up by a solid rules and regs that help us. So when we do get the guns off the street, they actually stay off the street. It doesn't come circulating back, or we're not releasing the people back again on the street. We need to have a system that kind of circulates and helps each other out. Right now, there's gaps, and we need to close those gaps. And if we do that, just that alone, imagine if you come tomorrow and say, you know what, gun violence has gone down by 40%. That's a lot. And that's a very good start, and I think we can do that. And then yeah, if I'm not always close to anything, but if it comes to a point where we're like, okay, our hands are tied, we can't help anymore. You need to equip yourself with firearms at home, but it needs to be properly licensed and stored and all that. I'm not going to be against that, what the majority says, but we need to have those conversations, and it needs to be actionable quicker than later. Remember, I said, by the time we try to catch up to it, it's kind of too late.
Too late,
We're
yeah.
always catching up. We're always catching up. In certain circumstances, like with this gun violence, I think we need to speed that up, and we need the help from the government. That's it's very
That was
important.
actually what my next
yeah.
question is. So what right now is stopping the police division in order to maximize the crackdown, or at least focus more? Is it only that we have less people right now working for the divisions, or is it because your hands are tied? Or is it because we I'm not going to get into who ties that up, because I'm sure you have power within your own area only.
Right.
Like you said, you cannot do much for the entire police community. You cannot just say that, yeah, today I want to do this. So probably you also follow some orders that you receive, and they follow some orders from where they receive, and then again, so on and so forth. It comes down from all the members of the commons that we have sitting in the parliament, deciding how this should operate, from the mayor. So what do you think is right now the police division lacks in terms of maximizing their potential in cracking this down, like the illegal sell, use, and just smuggling of these guns?
Yeah, I believe it's the law that needs to be changed. I
Okay.
think we're decently equipped to deal with the
Okay.
issues that's happening. We need the law to change.
Okay.
And you have to understand something. Like, I'm, yes, I'm a police officer, but I'm also a citizen too.
Correct.
If I do something wrong, of course I'm held at a higher standard because I'm a police officer. But also as a citizen, I have a lot to lose. I have my home, I have my mortgage, my family, my driver's license, my credit card, my car, everything. Just my reputation. You have a lot to lose. When somebody who is most of the times when people are committing those like really violent crimes and all that, and if they do have a history of crime activity, especially with firearms, if you look at them, they don't have much to lose. There's not much. They don't have much status. If you look at that individual themselves, so for them, if they lose anything, it's really their freedom. But they know that the law that there are gaps in the law where they are able
They can
to
play around with.
play around with it so that they can continue having their freedom while still being on the charges.
So first of all, what is that law?
So-
Because I also being a new citizen, I've just recently become a citizen. I came here as a PR, and I just learn from what I see, from what I hear. I still believe I don't have much to object and comment about because from where I come from, laws were pretty bad, or if laws are good, the implementation is the worst. So I have really less to complain about this country. I love this city a lot. I love this country too. It has given me a lot of opportunities personally to grow and prosper. And at the same time, I feel 100% secure. I have friends and family who probably just live, next to my where I live. So whenever I'm going outside at night, I don't personally feel threatened. Neither am I as much bothered about if I know my family's going outside. I need to be very cautious. It was the other way around from where I come from. But again, like you mentioned, the crimes have been increasing with such less implementation of the law. So now I see you also know about the increase in car theft.
Yes.
Recently, this is my personal opinion, because elections are coming up. I feel like now people are, being proactive, and you hear less of these car thefts happening. And a lot of people used to say, yeah, the police knows where the cars are going. They know where the port is. Why don't they just go and stop the crime where it's happening? Or they know this is being shipped from Montreal to places like Nigeria or Kenya. Why can't they do it? Because we've seen also cases that they know the car is literally inside the container, but they won't take action. So what is stopping them from doing so? And again, this also just to add more to it, so you can probably explain us in a better way. So let's suppose today I'm caught doing a theft, or I'm caught probably stabbing someone. Like you said, I go to jail or probably in a lockup. I come back out on a bail, and then even if I have a history of doing that for years, I can go out freely. Why is that so? Like, what type of law is that? Whereas today, I've also heard that, let's suppose someone just attacks me and or tries to bully me, and me as a citizen tries to like defend myself and punch them or hit them. I'm more in danger than the person probably who did the car theft. Like, can you understand the difference between this?
I'll take it back as on a human level side of it. Like for example, if I get in trouble and they tell me, listen, it's either you're going to go to jail or we're going to give you house arrest, and these are going to be your conditions. You have to abide by these conditions. When I get those conditions, the way I was raised, I will not breach any of those conditions. I would thank God they letting me go free. I'll be in my own house. I don't have to worry about it until this is over. I'm gonna make sure I'm a good person.
But that's
until,
also because you
until
don't
this
have
is
a criminal mindset.
right.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say is the law is designed in a way that we're treating everybody
Equally.
equally. That they're using honesty and integrity to kind of abide by those.
Okay.
But unfortunately,
People do.
that's not the
Yeah.
reality, right?
Correct.
Yes, maybe I will follow those rules, and maybe a good portion of people, like I would say, the majority of people may follow that, but maybe the 10%, the 5%, the 1%, they will not. And all it takes is really 1 to 5%.
Correct. That's
to
a lot.
completely throw off the whole society.
Yes.
Right.
And put them in danger.
They put everybody in danger, right? So those are the things that we need to touch up on and say, how do we change those laws
So what's
that
that
the
law
person
exactly that
so that the
allows
person-
them to go outside?
yeah, so that person who is it needs to be assessed individually, case by case.
Okay.
And that's very important. You can't just be a blanket for everybody, right? Everyone's individuality is different. Just like how right now I could tell, like I say, we're a good police service. I could tell the reason we take so many courses to learn about people, to learn about cultures. Why do we do that? Because if I'm dealing with you, you're saying you're from Pakistan. Wouldn't it be nice to have an officer who understand where Pakistan even is in the entire in the
Yeah,
map,
yeah.
and to have a little bit of background about your culture? Then I can have a better conversation with you. I can understand you a little bit better. So we're doing that in the Toronto Police. So we actually are doing these courses to learn about people and to
Okay.
understand people, so we can deal with them better. Because we've had previous experiences that resulted negatively, and now we're adapting and we're changing. We're not saying, oh no, we're going to keep it the same way, we're not going to change it. Because if we keep doing that, we're going to keep having the same problems. So now we're learning more about cultures. We just had online course on Islam.
Okay.
How to be Muslims, and that
Their
was an
faith
online
and-
the faith, the whole. And even though I'm a Muslim, I did it too. It was a good refresher for me.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a Muslim
Correct.
too.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to the law, when we're releasing people, like we're just sort of like, it's just everyone. It applies to everybody. No, it shouldn't apply to everybody. We have to look at every case individually and really, really pay attention to it. Like you say,
Especially if they have history, right?
if they have a history, especially if they have a history. We're not just trying to be hard on that individual. We know that individual that needs to be controlled a little better because they are out of control. So we need to control them a little bit better so that they don't fall through the cracks again. That's how we should look at it as. Not just to punish them. It's not about just punishment. This is about how do we prevent it from happening again, and how do we help them follow a straighter path, because we don't want them to fall through those cracks again. Some people you just can't help, unfortunately. That's going to happen. It's reality.
But why don't we put them behind the bars then?
But we can help people in much better ways. Releasing them, we're not doing any justice for that person who's done it already before.
I agree.
That's on us as society, because we're setting them up for more failure.
Correct.
That's terrible.
So do you think this is a law failure?
There is a law failure. It's a failure of a whole entire society, that we need to have our voices heard, and we need to put our inputs. And the government obviously have to listen to all of this. And government's not going to change anything unless people start talking, right?
Yeah.
The conversation needs to be serious. It needs to be holistic. It needs to be solution based, and it needs to make sense. So when we say, like, you're releasing that person who's already done that crime 10 times, and you're releasing them again, you're setting that person, first of all, for failure again.
Correct.
And we're setting and also we're showing our failure to
And then
as a
you're also
society.
putting the entire society at risk of happening again.
Exactly.
Or
So
probably that crime could get more violent.
100%.
Right now we've also seen in the shift that before it was just car theft by probably, breaking in or trying to, damage the car. But we've also seen now people break in the house, hit people to an extent that probably they're, disabled to some extent, and then they take the car just for the car. And I know this because I come from a country that we sit and debate and discuss what are these people getting who are doing the job itself, because they're not the one who are operating this. They're just, kids, 16, 17 years old, underage people who are just given some probably tools to do that. They're not the ones who are making the real money. Real money is someone else who's doing this. These guys probably get $500, $1,000 a car maybe. Even if you're stealing like a Range Rover that's worth $150,000 or $200,000, the one who's stealing it probably gets $500 only. But the ones who's doing the business is getting much more. But they're putting their lives at risk and someone else's life in danger, probably someone who's kids, sitting in the car. Because you've also recently seen that incident that went viral about that Porsche, right? Where that girl came in and she said, yeah, my father's coming in and I just want to test drive the car. She took the car for a spin. She came back as soon as the owner got off the car and he was going behind the car, and she just reversed and drove over him. But she was also set free. How come? Like, isn't that attempt to murder already? Like,
Yeah, so I really want to address every single. There's a lot of points you hit on this, which is extremely, extremely important, and I want to take it back before I come forward to answer your question.
Yes, please.
So the reason that we're having these seminars with the newcomers, with most of them being children, is to educate them and to set them up for success, to help them know that there are people out there that will take advantage of you, and brainwash you to do what they want you to do. That's called organized crime,
Correct.
right? So it's our duty, our responsibility, not just as police, but as society, as parents. It all starts at home to make sure you protect your children, you educate your children. They're in an educational system where you don't let them become victimized to some of these organized crime that's happening out there. That this is what's organized. This is what they love to see. They love to see society being divided, parents being too busy to look after their children, not able to survive through society. Kids are not getting what they should be getting, which is love. And when they don't get love, then they want materialistic things.
Correct.
Then you have what's called the internet, which poisons their minds. And then they are desperate to have nice clothing. And then you have organized crime criminals that will say, hey, you're going to be looked after.
Yeah.
I'll get you this.
That's also
You're
how
not
people
gonna
get
in
into
trouble.
drugs too, right?
Even if you go steal that car, you'll be released by tomorrow. The youth justice system, you're good till 18 years old. You're not going to have a criminal record. So they buy into that because they're not connected to us. When I say us, I mean parents, I mean teachers, I
society.
mean officers, I mean friends, good friends, like people, your family.
Correct.
We're missing that portion a little bit right now, and that's why you have so many kids are falling through those cracks and say, hey, that $1,000 looks good to me. Even if I get caught, oh well, I'm back
be
tomorrow. There's not gonna happen to me. So we need to crack down on that, right? That's why I say, when we're dealing with crimes, we need to deal with it properly as individually, because if we don't, it opens the floodgates for organized criminals. Organized crime they devour this. This is perfect. You're just giving them more tools, more weapons to continue doing what they're doing as organized crime, using other people. This is what we call vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Why I have a soft spot for children and seniors, because they
you
are the most
understand.
vulnerable people in
Yeah,
society.
you understand how their mind can quickly be,
They're the mo-
influenced.
we just served over 200 meals, and 100 of those was for seniors. And these seniors, they're alone, they're isolated, they don't have any money, and they're by themselves. They lack love and attention, and they don't feel like they're part of society anymore. And there are people out there that take advantage of seniors. And who cares about these seniors, right? We should. The same thing when it comes to children. Children need to be supervised. They need to be in programs. They need to be active. I'm a sports guy. I totally believe in kids being actively involved in something. Otherwise, they're going to be bored and they're going to be on the streets. So that's why I said we're just a piece of the pie in the puzzle that we're dealing with. And because we're from different backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds, so we have to make sure we close that gap. So we look at ourselves as one people. When we do that, we're able to supervise each other a lot better, look after our children a lot better. Because I've seen in neighborhoods, you see a certain kid that's on the street from a different background, and then you have across the street, you have another family there, and they look at that family, they're like, oh my God, look at why are they
look
doing
down
this?
upon them,
They
yeah.
don't feel any
Welcome.
connection.
Yeah.
There's no welcome. That's why me and Murcha, we're in a neighborhood, we do programs to bring all the kids and bring the parents, get them to know each other, so that they have
So
a
these
relationship.
are the good things that people don't know about that you guys do.
It's called development, right? You have to have get to know, just like when you go to church, get to know your neighbors, like get to know your enemy. I mean, people say like, "Wow!" A lot of times, actually, we got criticized even in our own station. Why are you talking to this criminal that's coming to your meal program? This person did a lot of bad stuff, and we actually got into a very heated discussion over this. And we had a pretty good answer, in my opinion. I said, okay, yes, this person did a lot of bad things. I'm not God. I don't pass judgment. At the end of the day, we're all going to answer to our sins anyways. My job is, if I see that person, yes, she's done a lot of bad things, but now is back in community
Trying
and is
to
doing
repent,
good things, trying to do better, I'm not going to kick that person down. I'm going to encourage that person to do better.
Correct.
Yes, you've done some bad things. Yes, you may have to answer those at some point. But if you're doing something good now, I will give you that fist pump and say, keep doing what you're doing, and encourage them, because I guarantee you that individual looked at us like, wow, I never thought police was going to give me a fist pump and actually believe in me. So somebody's actually believing me. If somebody believes in you, it gives you motivation to continue doing what you're doing. I'm in the gym. I remember as a young kid in the gym, all I wanted is one of those guys who come in the gym and say, "Hey kid, you're doing good." If somebody told me that, I would do 10 times better.
Correct. Yeah.
This is the reason why we do what we do. And it's all our response. It's every citizen's responsibility. If you really think of it, it's not just policing. Yes, it's a uniform that we wear just because we want to keep law and order. Right? We need to have structure in society. We can't just, if you take out a set of lights, a young and Dundas, what's going to happen after 5 minutes?
Yeah.
There's going to be chaos.
True.
Right? So we need to have structure, right? But we need to follow up and make sure the structure doesn't fall apart, because there are countries like all apples and oranges and different flavors, which is fantastic. But
It
we
helps
need
you
to-
grow as a society too. Yes.
But we need to keep it we need to have a system that's going to help us individually and also universally.
Right.
So that we have a better feel. Otherwise, we're going to easily get divided, which is happening already.
right now.
The pandemic did that to us.
Yes.
Obviously, that was a massive setback. But we need to find a way to get closer to each other, to have that human contact. Because like if you look at everything's on social media. That's why I'm using social media as a tool, as a positive
thing.
tool
That's a good
to,
thing.
to kind of combat it. Because
Before this, Farzad, I didn't even know. I didn't even literally, the things that you're telling me right now, that you're trying to help the community by not only helping them get the materialistic stuff and just doing something for charity, but also like educating them. I didn't know about that side of the police. Neither do I think, I'm sure a lot of people like me don't know about it. Because for us, it's like cops are in the car. They're just, doing their job. If there's an emergency, they're going to help you. If there's not an emergency, there's just nobody. You're not supposed to.
I'm going to say one more thing. I don't
Yes,
mean to
please.
interject.
No,
So
please.
we talked about the budget.
Yeah.
So what me and Murcha are doing right now is this contacting, having this relationship with people in our neighborhood.
Okay.
The budget, right, is for police officers to respond to 911 calls. For the most part, it's to
Is that the budget that you're
to sort of supplement having officers to respond to 911 emergencies, right?
Okay.
But we know it's not all about emergencies, right?
Right.
How do you save? How do you help your community to be safer? Is through being more proactive than reactive, because reactive means you gotta respond to the 911 call. Then we respond to it, we deal with it as best as we can. But what have we done to prevent it from happening again? Because otherwise, it's just gonna happen again. Unfortunately, it's gonna happen again and again and again. We don't want that, and we keep reacting. So proactive means this is what we in Murcha we do. Proactive means we go into the neighborhood that needs us. Some neighborhoods don't need us as much; they're doing okay. But there are other areas that need us more. So we go in there to do all these little things that we're doing, so that we're preventing the next 911 call that may come through. We go to a family right now. There's a 15-year-old male teenager there that's under house arrest. That's gotten in a lot of trouble, and part of our job is to make sure he's following his conditions. But the bigger part of our job is to have a good relationship with this kid, to get him involved in activities, sport activities. And it's a challenge because he doesn't want to do any of that stuff right now. He's never learned discipline properly. He's never been brought up properly. But it's our job now. We feel that we need to do this, because if we don't keep a contact with this young man, this young man will continue doing what he was doing from before.
Correct. And probably get worse.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a 911 call. Now we have to react to it. So on the other end, we're trying to prevent it. So what does the funding cover? The funding is only covering the reactive portion of the policing. Really.
It does not cover the other end.
It's not really covering the other end. And if there's going to be a budget cut, we're gone first.
Correct.
The proactive of it, gone.
It's gone, because then you only have limited resources left.
Because we only need you when there's only an emergency.
Correct.
And if you only look at police that way, we failed. Because like I said, organized crime is always going to be ahead. We're always catching up. So you want to be proactive. So the funding has to cover the proactive and the reactive. But
Correct.
right now, historically, the funding is just really
Reactive,
us to just to be reactive, just to put enough personnel just to be able to respond to the calls that we're getting. Because everything is about responding to the calls.
Correct.
But what if we didn't have any calls? How do we do that?
Yeah.
That's called being proactive, right? So
But first, don't you also think a lot of the sentiments of the general public are also hurt when I'm just not really sure. Was it from the chief of the police or was it from the mayor? I think it was from the police who said that the best way is to keep your car key outside and you're on that.
yeah,
What do you feel about that when you hear such statements from your peers, and
Yes.
from your own division, from your own organization that you work in? What are your first of all your personal sentiments on that, your statement on that one, and second of all, how do you think this impacts the police in general and about now you don't blame the society because they're literally shocked. They're like, okay, so you're telling us there's nothing that you can do, but for us, in order to defend ourselves, let's just go outside and keep our cash maybe outside, our keys outside, because now there people are going to start comparing with everything, right? We're supposed to just keep everything outside so that we don't get hurt. So what do you?
Yeah, so I know. Unfortunately, it was taken a little bit out of context.
Okay.
If you listen to the whole town hall meeting
Okay.
there from beginning to the end,
I did not.
You
I only
sort of,
read that, yeah.
you would sort of understand, why in general.
Okay. Yeah, probably
but-
this is a good platform for you to help us understand what that
It's
was.
like you make a statement. Sometimes like even Murchis says, he doesn't want to be on camera because we don't want to talk too much
Correct.
openly.
Yeah.
Because we're human.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we work for an organization that we need to stay obviously
Yeah,
professional.
you need to be professional as well.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes words get out there, right? We don't really mean it.
Yeah.
But because we get frustrated,
Yeah.
we get frustrated that we find that the system can be better.
Correct.
We find that we can do a lot better, and we're kind of held back.
You're balancing between
to
what
be able
you
to
can
do our
do.
job that we want to do, because there's a lot more we can do as police, but we're sort of being held
Hands are
back
tight
because our hands are tight. So we get frustrated. Sometimes we say things that we don't necessarily mean, but guess how much attention that grabbed, right?
Correct. And that's exactly what the
if-
media catches.
But that's the example. So I say let's take that comment because it grabbed a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually applaud that, because if it was a general statement,
Mm-hmm.
no one would be talking about it. There would be no reaction to it. But when there is a reaction and everyone's talking about it, now let's work on a solution. Right? Let's now since everyone's like hyped up about this
Yes.
comment that we thought maybe it was out of context or maybe it was not the right comment, but guess what? It
Brought a
boiled
lot of
people's
attention.
bloods,
Yes.
right? So let's do something about it then. Why not do something about it as a whole society? Let's use that as a positive thing now and put it into something so we can stop doing it, so we don't even have to think about giving the key to the criminal that's coming there to invade your home and your privacy and your freedom. How about we come up with that solution now? Let's stop talking about what was just said. Okay, now we got a reaction. Now let's do something. Let's put it into some sort of positive action. Because we all feel that way, because whether you're a police officer or you're a citizen, it's come to a point where like you kind of feel like, oh, I might as well just give my keys, because I feel like there's no protection for me, or there's nothing there to stop them from continuing doing what they're doing.
Correct.
I'll tell you a personal story. This actually happened to me. I had 5 individuals that came to my house that they were trying to steal my car from my driveway. And I had
Really?
just finished my work. I was 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And I was just wrapping up to go upstairs. And I heard my doorbell ring. And I have a dog. And because I'm in a police mindset, my immediate reaction was, I'm not expecting anybody. And I know these home invasions are happening. So that's exactly what was going through my head. I ran to the window and I don't see anybody out there. And I knew there was something wrong. So they were trying to see who was going to actually come to the door. So they see me and my dog, and there was a person across the street with a cell phone communicating with the other guys saying, you know what, it's not worth going to this house. So they continue. And I have
How long was this ago?
I have a security camera, so I could hear I heard the conversations about my car, and they even had the machine where they kind of reads the code.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do it, so they had to come and get the key. So the key is inside.
How
the
long
house.
was this ago?
This is about 4 months ago.
Really?
Yeah. This is while I'm working. Imagine I work 11 hours, almost 12 hours, and I go home. And now this is happening to me
To
as
you.
a normal person. I'm not wearing my uniform. I don't have anything on me. And now I'm dealing with this. I'm on the other end of it. So now I'm calling the police for help.
So first out again, yeah,
So-
sorry, just a small probably time for you to help us understand this. You're not also allowed to use your weapon to defend yourself as a police when you're not on duty?
Well, we're sort of on duty on and off. Like we have
Yeah.
to, we're in that mindset that even if you're off, you still have to carry on
Weapon.
your professionalism as if you are on duty.
Okay.
Yeah, we are allowed to bring our service firearm home if you want to. There's
Okay.
a process that you have to go through. You have to have storage as well. Like,
Okay.
but we cannot be like armed like an army guy, with a machine gun, like while
Yeah.
pacing back. Well, you have to store it. So it's not like it's right by the door. You're gonna grab it, and we don't. We still have to treat it like as if we're working, right?
Okay.
So if somebody does come in your home, whether it's you're coming to my house, I'm a police officer, or if it's just another individual, you have every right to defend yourself.
Okay.
Every right to defend yourself because someone's coming attacking you, right? So, but there's levels of defending. Like if you're defending, you're defending. If you're all of a sudden you go in the offense and you do more damage than is necessary, then then now you're breaking the law. You need to just, if you have to defend yourself, you defend yourself.
Okay.
The level of force that comes afterwards, it depends on how much you're fearing for your life,
Okay.
right? And it's justifiable. So it is justifiable. There's certain circumstances that obviously, if it's above and beyond, then yeah, you may get in trouble for that. But I don't want people to think that they can't defend their homes, right? You can. First of all, you shouldn't open your door. That's
Correct.
number one. If you feel that there's suspicious, right away call 911, right? And explain that to the dispatcher because we want to make that into priority number one, so that we come as soon as possible, right? These are things that are important. This is part of defending yourself, right? Defend doesn't mean you open the door and say, okay, let's go. No, it doesn't work. No, don't do that, right? Use your common sense and have a plan. These are very important to have these plans already in effect in your head, so that God forbid something like that does happen, how to respond. Like I go.
Like you said, proactive, right?
There's product. So we go to calls. We knock on the door, and then people don't want to open the door.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You say, take a look at us for your people. You can see my uniform. They can ask for our badge. We can show our badge. Even if they're not comfortable, we ask them to call 911
And confirm.
and then confirm.
Okay. I didn't know
Right?
about that. Okay.
So you can even do that if you're not feeling safe at all. So that's important, right?
Nice.
I even had a second incident in my house where I had somebody that came knocking on the door, and they said, they fell in the ravine and they need a ambulance, and they said, no, I need a taxi and so forth, and they're trying to pretend to be somebody else. Don't open the door, right? So,
Is that also the case when someone pulls me over? Like if I'm just like, probably he's not a cop, or I'm just suspicious.
100%.
Can
If
I
you're
also-
suspicious, you can respectfully ask, officer, may I see your badge? I just had I had a history and I don't feel safe.
Okay.
Do you have a badge?
Okay.
We all carry a badge.
You can
Right?
you can ask for
And
that.
you can verify
Okay.
it, right? Even if, let's just say, if you get into argument with the officer, again, if you have your phone, you can call. You can verify with the dispatcher. You can see the name. You can see the badge number. You can verify that. The
Okay.
dispatcher can say, yeah, that person is on duty right now or not,
Okay.
right? So
That's a
there are
good
those
thing, yeah.
options. It's a good thing to know.
I didn't know about that. Yeah. Thank you.
You shouldn't abuse it. It's not for
you to just
people to use
probably-
abuse.
Yeah.
But if you do feel concerned, if you don't feel safe, there is that option for you.
Nice. One of the questions I also had, which we actually touched based behind the scenes, was also about how do you guys react to the protest, and what are the challenges that you people face? Like, I'm sure you guys are always stressed when you see that a protest is about to take place, because again, they're meant to be peaceful. They're supposed to be peaceful, I would rather say, and they sell it in a way that it's gonna be peaceful, but then things can get out of hand, which we just recently saw what happened in Montreal. So what are your take on that when protests happen, and how well do you equip yourself and be alert and aware? Because there was a protest taking place probably less than a month ago at Dundas Square, and I saw like 20 to 25 police cars. And my immediate reaction was, is this required? Like, do you really need a lot of policemen armed and alert all the time? But then my response, I actually answered myself when I saw what happened in Montreal.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if there were really a lot of policemen who were monitoring that protest, or it just got out of hand and then they had to react. Like, what are your take on the protests that take place?
Okay. So for Toronto Police Service,
Yeah.
our main thing is to have safety, like just safety. Number one is safety,
Okay.
and also to be impartial. So we're talking about the protests. What do you think about them? We're not there to think about anything other than public safety and be professional, be impartial. We cannot show sides. You can't say, "Oh, I'm with you, I'm against you." You're in a public domain where other people also have rights to be there, where other people have a right to go home and come back and conduct their regular activities and to feel safe about it. So our main concern is safety and being impartial and to maintain the structure and fabric of society. So when you have, whether you want to say if it's a protest or if it's a rally, what have you, right? If you have a large amount of people coming in one area who are expressing their emotions, at any given point, you have to understand, any given point, when you have a large crowd in a public road where there's cars, bikes, other people, other elements,
Can get out of hand.
anything can get out of hand very, very quickly. And if it gets out of hand quickly, now it's damage control. So we want to prevent that. So from learning from experience, again, we're adaptable, right? Because we respond accordingly, and then we realize, this is because of this experience. We're going to have to step up. We have to show more visibility because we've seen it already happen, go sideways. So now we want to prevent it. So we show a little bit more visibility if we can. And if you see, oh my God, is it really necessary to see 10, 20 police cars? Yes, because we do assessment. We assess from prior and we make those adaptations. Why? Because we don't want anything to go bad. We don't want anyone to get hurt. That we're talking about the protesters, not saying, oh, other people, we don't want to get hurt. No, we're talking about everybody.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter whether you're a protester or you're a bystander. We don't want anyone to get hurt, and we don't want anyone to start breaking the law and becomes an anarchy.
Right.
Because it quickly happens. Because you have to remember, even if you have the most innocent protester coming there for the right reasons, there's always one or two who are coming for the wrong reasons,
Right.
and they're using that again to victimize the vulnerable people who are just there just to bring out the message, and they're using that against for their own agenda that they have, right? And it kind of
That's
loses
exactly
the
what
message.
happened in Montreal, right?
That's exactly it. It becomes anarchy, right?
Right.
And they're using that against us, right? And we want to make sure that doesn't happen, right?
Nice. So probably one of the last questions that I have is about the your job itself. So right now you are what's your designation?
I'm called a neighborhood community officer.
Okay.
So essentially a neighborhood officer for one particular neighborhood.
Okay. And what does the hierarchy is in this police division in general? Like I know from where I come from, there's like a station house officer who's called the SHO, and there's like a district superintendent who probably acts whenever an FIR has been launched, the first information report. So then they are the one who act onto it. So how does the hierarchy in police work in Canada or in Toronto if it's different somewhere else?
We do have a ranking system.
Okay.
We have when I am a police constable.
Okay.
And within that police constable, we have when they first get our badges, we come on the road. We're called fourth class. We start as a fourth class, then we
Okay.
go third, second, first class.
Okay.
So once you're first class, you're pretty much as good as can be as being a police constable.
Okay.
From that, then you become, if you want to go higher, we have a sergeant
Okay.
who supervises the police constables. We have a staff sergeant who supervises the sergeant and the
Okay.
police constable. And then we have inspector,
Okay.
which once we go to an inspector and above,
Yeah.
you see them wearing the white shirts. So they're
Okay.
more of a higher managerial position where they're mainly dealing with running the whole entire station
Okay.
or division, and also they're dealing with all the things that are happening politically with
Okay.
with some of the things that are policies and procedures.
Okay.
And,
So it's
the
like a
laws that are changed.
managerial level.
Right.
of
So
position. Okay.
so up until the staff sergeant, they're pretty much uniform.
Okay.
We're on the road,
Yeah.
and then above that, inspector, superintendent, it becomes the boss of the station or division.
Yeah.
And then above that, you have are you going to staff superintendent, deputy chief, and chief.
Okay.
Right. So that's how the hierarchy works. But for the most part, we have like good about 5,000 officers who are uniformed,
Okay.
and they're all police constables. So we try to stay
5,000 only in Toronto?
in Toronto. That's just uniform, like the
Okay.
way I am. Right?
Okay.
And we have in total we have over 8,000,
Okay.
8,000 personnel.
Okay.
About 5,000 about uniform. Don't quote me, but it's approximately that much.
No, no, that's fine.
Right.
And
So do we try in those? Let's say in that 5,000, we all try to be the same, so people don't see us are up and down.
okay.
So we're seeing the same because again, we don't want to run into that situation where, no, this officer is nobody. I want to go with this officer. No, we're all the same. We all have the same authority, and we can all help the way the same way. We just have supervisors basically to make sure that we're accountable for all the
What you
actions that
do.
we do.
Correct. So when you say Toronto, does that cover GTA also, or just
No, just Toronto alone.
Toronto alone?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're the fourth largest police service in North America.
Wow. Yeah, because Toronto is big, but at the same time having as much forces is actually I'm sure that's a huge number too.
Yeah, I mean that's why the budget is so large. Because we also under the umbrella we have parking enforcement. They're part of
Okay.
our service too. Even we used to have cross guards.
Okay.
They were part of our. They were under our umbrella, but just recently got separated because they're trying to fix the budget a little bit. But I mean, we have we have a huge umbrella. So when you see like $1 billion budget, it doesn't mean it's only for uniform. We have a lot of civilians that are working too. So it takes a whole entire basically village to support the uniform, right?
Correct.
We cannot possibly do it just by ourselves. We have to have civilian help.
So for that, probably a naive question, or just I'm intrigued to understand. Just like in private institution, you generally have to do your best. If you're from Department A and Department B does their best, there's some beef sometimes that goes on. So is that also the thing with police? Like, do you have a beef going on with the Peel Region Police, or is there like a competition that you have to do better in terms of your area, so that when your evaluation, or if there's any evaluation yearly done, you look better than the other? Like, is there anything as such?
No, I'm smiling because I'm like, who has time for that even?
Okay.
We're so busy. I wish we'd get to a point where we're still like, hey, let's flex on these guys. We do better than you guys. We don't. That doesn't even cross our minds.
And the
at
respect
all.
is mutual, like
The
across.
respect is mutual,
Like when
yeah.
you see each other, probably when you see someone from Peel Region and you from
100%,
Toronto.
Yeah,
Okay.
the respect is mutual all across.
Nice.
It's just it's a funny conversation talk.
Okay.
Obviously, there again we're all human. You may not like somebody who is an OPP just because you don't like that person. We can both be uniform, but respecting the badge, respecting the uniform
Yeah.
is the same. Right?
Okay.
Where it differs is obviously your individual personalities. Like there's some people in my own station that I don't particularly fond of. Like I'm not best friends with everybody,
True.
but I respect them because I respect what they're doing. Personally, aside, that's different, right? So we don't have to be personal, but as long as you're doing your job, and I respect that, and it's something that we have to, because this is one of the few careers, jobs you want to call it. We don't know if at the end of the day I'm going to go home. Like I could do this interview and go out there,
outside, yeah.
and God forbid something's going to happen to me. I don't even know. It's that quick, right? You think everything is just fine and dandy, and then all of a sudden something happens, right? So having that mindset that you don't know what's going to happen, so you have that level of appreciation for the brothers and sisters who are wearing the uniform, that you have it. So regardless of what your personality is or what your background is, you always respect the uniform and the badge, right?
Nice. And probably one of the last questions that I have is about your family. Are you married? Do you have kids?
Yes, I'm married and I have 2 boys.
Nice.
And big age gap, but I mean, it's okay. It's a good challenge for me.
What do they feel about the work that you do, and especially your partner? Like, probably they're always, worried.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I'm in my second marriage. So I made sure when I'm
Okay.
entering my second marriage, they understand, because whoever marries a police officer, they need to be extremely understanding. I give all the credit to those partners who are married to a police officer, because
I'm sure it's very
you're
difficult.
you're also marrying the job too. You're inherently going to be wearing a lot of hats at home, and also wearing a lot of the stress that's going to come home. You're going to be their therapist and everything else, and it's very tough, right? Because I'm working the whole entire week. I'm hardly home. Like when I tell my people in Regent Park, I'm like, this is my second home. I really mean it because I spend more time at work
Correct.
than I do at home. So
So you guys are working 7 days a week?
so right now it's like 7 days on, 7 days off.
Okay.
So that's 7 days that I'm here. I'm pretty much here all day.
Yeah.
I just go home and sleep and then come back to work again. So that puts a lot of pressure on family life. You know, if you have
Yes.
a partner, they have to be fully understanding of that. Because
Correct.
when I go home, I'm totally exhausted. I just have to make my food and make, say a quick hellos and just, okay, good night, right? Because I need to be 100% ready for people that I'm serving with the next day. People are not going to they're not going to care as much. Like, I had a rough night at home.
Correct.
They want me to be fully fresh. They want me fully fit for duty. Like,
Yeah.
and I expect that of myself, and I carry that every single day. And that understanding has to be there at home. They have to realize
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to give you all you want during that week.
So you
And
have to
then-
be in charge and you know.
Right. So
How do
it's-
the boys take it though? Your son.
Well, my little boy is he loves. I mean, he's in that age where it's all they want to do is be police or fireman.
Yeah.
It's some kind of uniform, right?
Correct.
But he actually likes construction, so
Okay.
he likes the construction right now even more. But he understands it, and I even have those conversations with him. Like he likes to play the good guy, bad guy type of thing, which is
Okay.
fun. We play that, but at the same time, I know how it is, dealing with a lot of families.
Mm-hmm.
I'm educating even at this time, even though he's only 5 years old. I'm still trying to educate him, like, don't just say bad guy, bad guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want him to get in the mindset. There's only. It's not just bad guys, like. So it's important to stay on top of your kids and to educate them constantly because, things can get out of hand very quickly, right? You have to stay in control, and I learned that from doing this job. Like, this is so important. Biggest issue that we have, like, is parenting, because you have to remember, like, one income is not going to help you survive through the day.
Yeah.
Both parents have to be working. Both parents have to be present.
Yes.
Both parents have to be providing. And so something is going to lack here. There's going to be a gap if both are going hard. If you have children, they're going to feel that space that's not there for them because in the past, you had one person always looking after the kids and being at
Right.
home looking after
Things
them.
were different. Yes.
Right. Now society is different. Now even with both of us working, we still have a hard time making ends meet.
Yeah.
And this is us, both of us being professionals. So I can only imagine people who are don't have a second job
Correct.
or they have a part-time job or they have to have a second part-time job. It's very, very difficult. And that's where the children really suffer. And I really feel for the children because realistically they don't have any voices, right? And then they react. So if I don't pay attention to my son, he reacts by having a temper tantrum. Well, same thing happens when they become teenagers.
Yeah.
When you don't give them that attention, their temper tantrum is going to be like maybe carjacking your car,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
They're reaching out to people like, look, I'm doing the unthinkable, help me, but they just don't know how to say help, right? So that's why we need to make sure that we do our part, all of us. We stay united. Unity is very important. Love is very important. Show love more than show hate. Why are we showing hate for? We came here so that we could have more love and peace, right?
Right.
So let's practice that. Practice, be an example to others. Lead by example. Like, work in partnership with others. Embrace, our differences. It's interesting to have somebody say from Pakistan, I want to eat the foods that you're eating. I want to enjoy
Yeah.
your culture. Let's enjoy our differences because then we can strengthen ourselves with each other, as opposed to like, oh, no, I don't want. No. It feels bad on your soul.
True.
And your negative energy is going to affect others too,
Others, yes.
right?
Spreads
So
quickly.
so I know it sounds cliche, but I mean,
No, it is. It
It's
is
spreading
it is
more love.
cliche now
Yeah.
in the world that we live in. But for the longest time, that's how we were told. Especially from you're probably not that old than me, but we're considered in the same generation probably, and that's how we were raised. That's how we were told by our
100%.
parents, right? Oh, you have to be more humble, more gentle, and try to respect other people and the differences that you have.
we're in a very, very unique position living in this country because if you
Correct.
look at most of the other countries, if you go to Iran, there are beautiful people there, but if you're different, you're gonna have a
Yeah,
hard
you're
time.
gonna be-
You're gonna have a hard
Yep.
time integrating there, right?
Correct.
So we're in a unique position here and living in Canada. We can embrace each other
Yes.
and learn to love each other, and the fruits of our labor is going to actually pay off even more because it's going to feel because we have such variety of people. We're never going to get bored of each other. There's always going to be something good. And that all the different cultural events, different things that that we celebrate
Yes.
throughout the year. And there's never a dull moment, right? I
Yep.
mean, imagine you going to different restaurants with different foods and all that kind of stuff. So that's good that we are in a unique position that we can take advantage of it in a good way. But if we don't,
Then
then it's going to be worse than you can possibly imagine, because we're never going to be able to sort of understand
Control
each
it
other and control it. Yeah.
correct. Before I ask you for your final message, you're doing a really good work for the community. Just wanted to let you know that. Is there any way that people can reach out to you or donate? What's the best way to do that if they
I
want to?
really appreciate you saying this. This is my time
No,
to be.
no, this is
I don't wanna be-
genuinely not because you're here, not
Yeah.
only because you're in uniform, but this is exactly why I wanted you to be here, because you're doing some really good work that I was not aware policemen do. So first of all, thank you so much for doing that. What you do for the community and the way the way you've explained today in this podcast what actually the police does for the community and the society that's not shown by the media. I hope through this medium, some people, whoever watches my podcast, is able to understand that. And I am taking away a lot of things from this discussion. And thank you for that again. So if someone wants to donate and try to help out, what's the best way to reach out, or where should they go and start donating things?
Thank you. I really appreciate having this opportunity to be here,
No,
giving
thank
me
you.
this platform here. Yes, you're right. Social media can be a good thing, could also be a very bad, poisonous thing as well.
Correct.
I'm not saying that all police are perfect. We're all human beings. There's good and bad in everybody, but you need to see through that. There's more good than there's bad. Okay, so that's very important to know. And in relation to that, I would love to use this platform to tell people if they can to donate a new toy, because it's Christmas time. We really want to put some nice smiles in some kids who don't have a toy at all. They don't have that. They're newcomers,
Right.
and we want to make sure that that we put a smile on their faces and we accept them as new citizens here, and to provide them those opportunities, to give them that hope. That's what we call the Project Hope. So from now until the December the 10th, we're accepting any new toy,
Okay.
non-violent toys. We don't
Yeah,
want to give any
correct.
guns and all that stuff, to be either dropped at 51 Division
Okay.
or our headquarters.
Okay.
Or you could just you can message me through my DM on my Instagram, which is TPS Neighborhood Watch. Okay. Or we just set up one. It's called TPS Project Hope.
Okay.
Either one of those. If you send us a message, if you have some donations, we'll make some arrangements to even pick it up for you if it's hard for you to come downtown. We can do that, but we definitely need more toys, because times are definitely a lot worse than they were
They're
before.
difficult, yes.
Even from last year.
Are you also accepting like clothing and?
We're accepting winter clothing,
Okay.
but it needs to be properly clean in winter clothing, so we don't have to sort through them. And
Okay.
we want to make sure we give them the good clothing, right?
Right.
Mostly for children,
Right.
mostly for kids that they really need it. Any kind of essential needs for kids, mostly winter clothing. So we do accept that as well, and we'll make those arrangements if you can't come. If you can, that'd be great. December the 14th. And December the 15th, we're going to be actually giving those toys out and the clothing out to the newcomers on the 14th. And on the 15th, we're going to give it out to our neighborhood kids here in Regent Park, which obviously my heart and soul goes for them, because I've been serving the community of Regent Park for the last 10 years now.
Right.
So it's my duty to make sure that my kids also get looked after too.
Nice.
And there are, even though they have housing, they're still living
Correct.
below poverty level, and
Yeah.
and it's hard for them to even have school supplies and things like that. So
Yeah.
so on the 14th, we're going to give out the big toy drive, Christmas little celebration for the newcomers, and on the 15th will be for Regent Park. So that's why we said if we can give a toy until the December the 10th. I know I'm throwing out a lot of dates. December the 10th is the last day, because we need to sort those toys out.
Yeah.
And we'd really appreciate if you can maybe
Yes.
whatever your
of course.
heart or whatever your pockets can handle.
Yes.
And that'd be
I'll
great.
try my
So
best to spread as much awareness about this. I'll try to get this episode released as soon as possible, so that I'm gonna tag you. You can share it on your page. I'm gonna give you the link to the full episode. You can probably share it with your peers, and I'm gonna try my best to get the positive message out there, and just contribute whatever little I can in terms of having people to shift and change their mindset about police, and try to get the negative away and put the positive probably out there. But yeah, thank you so much for coming today and making me feel really good.
Yep.